is up, friends? Rob here, the Medicare minister, and I'm back with a brand new, fresh Spitting Fire interview. And I'm with Joshua Youngs out of Colorado. Joshua, will you say hey real quickly?
Howdy, how are you guys?
All right, I know he's going to spit some serious fire today, but before we dive into that, as always, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment on this video, because it's important to us to know that we are putting fresh wind in your sails, because this channel was created to help you win, but I can't do it for you. You got to see yourself as a winner, because I believe all of you deserve to win. And so today we're going to talk to Joshua a little bit about his story, and he's going to share with us some success principles, some leadership mindsets that have helped him have success in our industry. Now, Joshua, I was watching a video with Cody Askins. We just came from 8% Nation, conference not too long ago, and saw you actually were sitting in front of me. And but I also saw your interview with Cody, and there was a lot of things in there that I really wanted to dive in to in our short time together.
Sure.
But real quickly, tell us a little bit about your story, maybe a little bit of backstory, and how you got into the industry you're in now.
Probably the weirdest way to get into the industry was my way. I tried to ruin my life, quite literally, in my youth. I was working at a dentist office. The dentist went on leave. Right before he went on leave, I got hired, and I was in trouble for a DUI that I had gotten. And so I was still dealing with the legal ramifications of that. I was going to have to go to work release and go to a 90-day jail sentence and some other stuff. And so I was depressed. And so I got a really good idea, which I'm being facetious. Do not do this. It's a really bad idea. I decided it was a good idea to start writing myself prescriptions. And so I got into some more felonies. And so I went like this in life first. I got fired, believe it or not, from the dentist office. They didn't like that. And so then I immediately scrambled to find another job. I took a job as a secretary at an FMO. I didn't even know what that was. They were really focused on under 65 individual health. And then shortly after that, I got my chance, I guess, if you will. Then I just started absorbing positions. And so I spent 14 years as secretary. Then I was status person. Then I was life insurance guy. Then I was small group guy. Then I was individual guy. And then I was Medicare. When Obamacare passed, we kind of over the weekend switched from healthcare focus to Medicare focus. And so I was handed the Medicare and and said, "You're the new Medicare expert." My friend got himself fired because he made the office manager mad, and he was the Medicare specialist. And so that's kind of how I kind of got forced by, I call it forced by God, into this business. And it's been the best thing ever. So yeah, I got in the hard way. Took me, when I applied for my license in 2015, it was January 2015. It didn't get approved until like December of 2016. So it took me like almost 2 full years for it to go through the state, and I had to get a 1033 waiver, and I had to go through all this extra stuff. So I took the long way into the business. I don't recommend anyone to do that. Obviously, don't try to take your youth if you're young and you're watching this. Trust me, going out with your friends, none of that stuff's worth it. Doing good for other people is what's worth it. So that's what I love about this business. So I'm sure that's not the answer you were expecting, but no. I put it all out there at all times. So
well, listen, man, I truly believe in being real. My ministry, that I've been in ministry for over 20 years, and even in my business, I just believe in being the most authentic, genuine version of yourself. And I really want to stay there just for a second, but real quickly, fast forward to now, you own your own Medicare business, right? Are you writing under 65 as well? Or do you do pretty much everything?
No, I have the mantra to my clients that I do everything except for homeowner and auto. So I really try to focus on doing everything.
Yeah, and I saw in the video, an interview that I saw that was very inspiring, close to 1,500 clients in a close to 3-year time frame. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it ended up, at the time I did that, I was about 3 months short of 3 years. And so I ended up at about 1,700.
Wow.
3-year period.
Yeah, and so the reason I bring that up for those that are watching when this drops here in a few weeks is that you could have let those felonies, you could have let those mistakes, what I call keeping you from the mission that God had for you today. So why didn't you quit? Why didn't you give up?
I don't know. to be honest.
Sure.
When I think back on it, I just had that. Number one, I have a drive.
Sure.
A drive for whatever. Early in my youth, it was for basketball. And so if you get me on a basketball court, my shot is, all the way out to half court and then inwards, because I've shot the ball 10,000 times. And so the same thing with Medicare, or with anything that I do, I put, once I'm in, and then I try to be the best. I have this insatiable desire to be number one, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but what made me not quit was I had a young kid. I was an early father, so I had a baby boy at home, who I felt like I had to provide for and all that. But I just knew I was destined for something. I don't know why or how. I just knew I was destined for something bigger and better. And I was just waiting for an opportunity. And so I didn't know at the time. I was just trying to make it paycheck to paycheck. I spent a long time living paycheck to paycheck. In reality, it wasn't until I got into the field where I was given the full opportunity to blossom that I was able to really achieve my potential.
Sure. And I think that's a word for someone that may be watching this today that maybe have made some mistakes. Listen, I've been there myself. I've made some big mistakes early on in my youth. I'm 46 now. I still make mistakes, but I don't make as many dumb mistakes as I did.
Smaller mistakes.
In my youth, I've actually learned. It took me a long time to grow up, but hey, praise God, I grew up.
Amen.
But to somebody who's watching this, because I don't want to leave in this moment, because I believe there's some just genuine, just some solid gold here, man, is for someone who's maybe messed up right now and they're watching this and they're going, man, it's going to take me some challenges to get my license, or because I've messed up so bad, it's going to take me a little bit to get to where I need to be. What kind of advice would you give them in this moment?
Most people would say, don't be hard on yourself. I say the opposite. I say, be hard on yourself. Look yourself in the face in the mirror and say, look, this isn't us. I mean, if it's not defining you, you've got to make that decision at some point. Put your foot in the ground and decide, I'm going back uphill now. Because it's really easy to keep sliding down that slope. You have friends and family and habits and other stuff that are pulling you down the hill. And it's easy to go down. It's always easier to go down the mountain than it is to turn around and go back up the mountain, especially if you've been sliding down it. If you're sliding down with life, it's easy to feel that way. The momentum can keep pulling you, and so it takes twice as much effort to get back to where you were, even, let alone to where you wanted to be. And so that's the best thing. You got to be honest with yourself. And look, I had to look myself in the face and say, look, are you going to be a habitual criminal in jail for the rest of your life, or are you going to, all this potential everyone's been telling you have your whole life, are you going to finally grab it and do something about it? And so I just made a decision. I think you make a decision that enough's enough, whether that's trouble with the law, trouble with your family, trouble with bad decisions, trouble with money, trouble with drugs, trouble without, whatever it is. Walking away from alcohol, guess what happened? I haven't had one DUI. I haven't had one incident with alcohol since, because I don't drink. Even at 8% and all that, there's plenty of opportunities to have fun and party and all that. You're still going to find me with a Coca-Cola in my hand. You're not going to find me with alcohol. Yeah. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I did have one drink at my wedding. I just learned that particular item in life, I don't have any control over. And so when I do have control, when I do put my mind into something, historically, I've had very good results. I'm blessed is the best way I can put it. I was given skill sets that most people would dream of. I can give half my effort. Even now in Medicare, I give half my effort and I destroy everybody else for the most part. I mean, there's some people out there that are outperforming me, but it's because they're working harder than me.
Sure.
That's all. So yeah, I mean, opportunity is there. Opportunity will keep coming to you. Like I said, I could have quit after one felony, but I didn't decide that wasn't enough. And so even if you think, oh man, I've buried myself too deep, I've gone too far on this, if you're still alive and if people are still talking to you, it's not too late. All you got to do is turn it around. Now, is it going to be harder? Is the road going to be farther? Is the mud going to be deeper that you got to get out of? Yeah. But eventually, with enough dedication, with enough right mentality, and enough of the right people around you, I couldn't have gotten where I'm gotten without good mentors, without good people in my corner, giving me the right advice, the right support, and then tuning out the noise. I think that's the easiest thing to do. But yeah. Make a decision. Be hard on yourself. Not easy. Don't be nice to yourself. Be mean. You got to start with you. That way, if other people give you tough love, you can handle it.
Yeah. No, man, that's great, bro. You're spitting some serious fire early on. I totally agree that you just got to be honest yourself. If you don't hold yourself accountable, then who is, right? You got to be honest with yourself. So I appreciate you sharing that. You mentioned one thing in there, and I heard you mention a little bit of 8% as well. And even in your interview that I watched with Cody Askins, and that was about mentors and coaches. How big of a part has that played or role in your overall success?
Now that I'm open to it, I mean, if anyone knew about me last year, that would be a miracle. I was out there grinding and no one knew about me. The moment I put myself into coaching, into mentoring, and not, you don't hire somebody at or below your level.
Right.
And again, I say hire.
Yes.
Good coaches cost money.
Yep.
Good mentors cost money, either whether that's money they're getting from you because you're underneath their hierarchy in this business and they're getting an override on you, that's time, or you pay them money. And I've paid a lot of money that technically I didn't have. And it started this year. It started at Medicare Con, or it was called Medicare Mastermind when I first signed up for it, and then it switched in the middle of it because that's really the spirit of it. But yeah, the coaching, mentoring, it's critically important if you want to take yourself to the next level, because you can only take yourself to certain levels because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you do know, and you don't know what you should know. And so finding that, I mean, I was very arrogant. When I first hit the field, I had been running an FMO for so long. I was so burnt out. I didn't want to even hear about another aid. Don't ask me one question. Please, nobody ask me a question. Sure. I just want to grind. I just want to get in the field. I just want to help people. And so that's what I did for 2.5 years. And then I got to a point financially that I could take a deep breath and go, wow, look how far I've come. And then I could start going, well, how can I give back now? How can I make another agent who maybe was in the same spot I was, who thought there's no chance in heck I'll ever be successful because of how much I ruined my life. That's what I thought for a long time. How am I ever going to become a millionaire? Who's going to hire a 2-time felon? Who's going to hire this? Who's going to do that? You know, you have all that self-doubt. And that's what a good mentor will do. A good mentor will take the self-doubt and switch it to self-motivation. They'll switch it to, here, do this, say this, do this, avoid doing that, don't do that. And so a mentor, a coach, a teacher, their job, if you take time to really sit down, what is their job and what is my job? What's my role as a student? What's their role as a mentor? If you really get down to it, it's a guide. It's a guide to take me from a spot I don't know to a spot I can see that they're at. And you may go through levels of mentors. Like at some point, my goal is to where Cody and Justin and those guys aren't big enough for me. Now I got to go to the Coach Burt and the Tony Robbins, and I got to go to another level, which is where people like Cody and Justin are. I guarantee those kind of guys with the level of dedication and motivation and understanding of what works and what makes people tick, they're doing coaching too. I don't know about Justin personally, but I do know personally Cody hires coaches. Yeah. He's not just a coach, he hires coaches. Sure. And so coaching, mentoring, however you want to look at that, you need not just one, you need more than one, as many as you can get. And ideally, you put yourself in a circle where everybody's better than you, because then everybody's a coach. Everybody's a mentor if you just copy what's around you. I have an 18-year-old son who's coming into the business. That's my biggest advice to him, and why I took him to the conference. I'll take him to Medicare Con next year. I want him to be around the people that lift you, It's kind of like the Peyton Manning effect or the superstar effect that lifts everybody's morals, expectations, work ethic. And so if you can't tell my passion on coaching, I'm 100% behind it. When I hired Cody, it was a big deal for me. I spent a lot of money. I spent more money for 1 hour of his time than I ever thought I'd give anybody for anything. Right. But when I look back, you know who I am now. There's a reason I'm being interviewed by you, and it wasn't because you found me randomly. You found me through Cody, the guy I hired to coach, who told me that one interview on his channel would be more powerful than 100 ads on YouTube. Yep. And I believed him. And I went all in on that concept. And so, yeah, coaching, you can't get enough good coaches. If you can get one to coach you for free, you better respect that relationship more than anything you've ever respected other than your parents, because it's basically the same thing they're doing, only they're doing it with no power, and they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, No, that's great. So I want to go back to something you said, and I'm a firm believer in that, man. I'm a firm believer, and people think it's so cliche about getting in the room, but getting in the room makes a huge difference and takes your business to another whole level. So people watching this, Joshua, why do you think so many people struggle with getting a mentor coach? I know you talked about arrogance. I know you talked about pride. Do you think those are the two biggest factors that keep people from really investing in a coach?
I don't think it was that with Cody. For me, with and I'll use Cody because that's the one I hired.
Sure.
When I was looking and evaluating Cody, I was trying to tell myself, okay, he's 10 years younger than me.
Yep.
He was in the life insurance. He was in the field for a year or two. I can't really figure out.
Yeah.
And so my question to his salespeople over and over were, what does he offer me? As I'm the one in the field at the top end of the game. I'm the one doing this. So I had that. That's where the arrogance came in, right? It's saying, what does he got to teach me? I'm perfect, right?
Yeah.
No. He could teach me so much
Yeah.
that I had no idea. And so has he helped me in the field on selling more apps? No.
Yeah.
Other than he's motivated me at a new level that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
So I'm reinvigorated. Basically, I'm remotivated to the level that I was when I first entered the field, which is dangerous for all my competition. Because now I can do more. I mean, this week I had one day on Wednesday, I did 9 apps.
Right.
I did 3 on Thursday, and then I did another 9 yesterday. So in 3-day period, I did more apps than most agents will do all month.
Right.
And that's on the coattails of 8%. So that's coattails of the motivation. Did I want to grind 18-hour days for 5 days this week? No, that's not what I woke up on Sunday thinking I should grind 15-hour days all week. But the motivation I had when I got to the evening and the afternoon, I mean, on Tuesday and Thursday, I was doing a T65 seminar presentation for one of my agents in one city, and in 45 minutes away, I had to be there in 20 minutes to go be the resource for somebody else's. And so I was going back to back, appointment to appointment. And that's another thing, the motivation, being able to send a text over to Cody or to, and now I'm hiring Coach, I've hired everybody now. But you're able to engage that crowd and they keep cheering you on. Because trust me, it's really like yesterday, I had the opportunity. The lady said, my last appointment today said, well, we can just move it to next week, no problem. Because I called her and I said, look, I'm running an hour late because I stuffed an appointment in where I shouldn't have. And so I'll do that. My biggest advice to anybody watching this, always say yes. I got to where I am because every opportunity someone brought to me, even when I didn't have time for it, I said yes and then figured out a way to do it. Yeah. So if a carrier rep comes to you with an opportunity, if your upline comes to you with an opportunity for a retail location and you honestly in your heart have nothing to do, get your butt in there, perform, and they'll give you a better opportunity next time. You won't get, like I said, is retail the most glorious thing out there? No. But if you're in year 1 to 3 as an agent, it's one of the best places you can do because it forces you to do what other people don't do, which is get out there and put yourself in front of people. Now, you can't just sit there on your phone all day and hope that someone comes over because you wouldn't walk up to someone doing that either. And so that's my second piece of advice to anybody. Remember what you're doing because you want to attract people to you. So this button I wear, I mean, I had somebody yesterday. It's half the time it's sarcastic, half the time it's genuine. People will go, so I asked you about Medicare. Huh? It's like, I gotcha. You shouldn't have said that because now we're going down the sales trip.
Right.
Right. And so it's all about mindset. It's all about mentality. But yeah, coaching, if you can't tell, I'm a much more polished, hyper-focused individual than I was in March. I don't know if you
I can't tell that. I've noticed that and like I said, I think a lot of us, maybe it's kind of a guy thing too. We kind of have this inner pride thing that, somebody can't help us. Sometimes we struggle asking for help, but you can definitely see the big difference in what coaching. And I think a lot of times, even in coaching, I think you said it best or said it very well, is that it's not necessarily so much the sales techniques that many of us need help on, but it's the fact, and I tell people this, I'm a very real person, but my realism sometimes gets in the way of my optimism. And so I've disciplined myself over my sales career to bathe myself daily in motivation and being inspired. And I'm consuming content because I know real quickly I can get negative or I can get I'll disguise the negativity by being real, and so having the Codys and others in our lives to push us and go, man, there's another whole level of inspiration and being motivated. And it definitely, you could tell that is you, because you're putting that energy through the screen even. And I love being around passionate and motivated people. So one thing I want to ask you though is about your work ethic, because I heard you mention it in Cody's video or interview. Where did that work ethic come from? Was that something you were born with, instilled with? I know you played sports. Where did that come from?
I think I was born with it, because I think back, the first moment I think of my competitive fire coming out, it had nothing to do with sports. It was second grade, and it was who can read this book the fastest. And they put that contest in front of me, and I read the book faster than anybody. I was ready for another book. And so I learned very quickly that my skill sets allow me to breeze through things that other people struggle to get through. And so for me, yeah, it was very early. How did I know that I had it? I just did. I don't know how to describe it. It's an insatiable desire, burning desire in me that I have to be the best. Yeah. I acknowledge that I'm not, but I shoot for that angle. Yeah. And I always have. Like I said, if you saw how obsessive, and my son, I use him a lot now. But he thinks he's going to beat me someday. And I genuinely hope someone does. I don't want to be the top agent for the rest of my life, because it is hard work. It is taxing. I don't want to drive 80,000 miles a year for the rest of my life. I don't want to do those things. I want to teach other people to do that. But so motivation is key. But you also have to have just if you don't have the natural desire, then that's where you got to have a motivator. You got to have a coach. You got to have a partner in crime, a spouse, a friend, something. If it's not in here, because that's what it is. How did I mean, we set this up pretty early in the morning. And so I have to look at my schedule to do something like this and say, where are we going to do it? I'm going to do it there. And when I first woke up this morning, did I want to jump on and do a podcast? No. I reminded myself it's Saturday. Maybe I could go do this. But if I didn't do this, I would have found another way to grind, right? Yeah. And so it's a mindset thing. And when they said, you hear that a lot, mindset. But it is. Yeah. It's the mindset that drives you. It's the mindset that makes you do the stuff that no one else wants to do. Like last night, I had that chance. I could have moved that league to next week. Instead, I went to the appointment. I wrote one more app. And that's one more spot I have next week that I can now put another app into, right? So the mindset thing, being open, and on your note with coaching, so like with Justin as an example, I feel coached by Justin and he doesn't know it. So if you find the right people to follow and you're observant, like if anyone saw me at 8%, and I acknowledge it, so trust me, come up and talk to me. I'm not the bubbly, outgoing guy at the party. I stand on the side. I'm quiet. I'm observant. I'm trying to read everything about you before I meet you. Sure. And I'm learning about you. I read people that way. Other people, my wife tells me all the time I have resting bee face, and I acknowledge that. I'm working on that. But once you approach me, then you'll see me like a flower. I'll open up. I see you're a bee. Okay. My flower opens up, and then you'll see a different side of my personality. I open up, and you're like, where the heck did that come from? Yeah. Where's that passion? Where's that fire? He was just this quiet guy in the corner. Yeah. But that's you. Again, it took me a long time to be authentically okay with who I am. Yeah. Accept the fact that I have weaknesses. Accept the fact that I'm not the outgoing, bubbly person I wish I could be. Someone like Cody and Justin both have that magnetizing, outgoing personality that makes everybody feel good. I don't. I'm abrasive sometimes. Sometimes I say things that piss people off. I hurt feelings. I do other things just because I don't have that next level of what I would call emotional maturity. I'm still fighting through some of my previous demons of being selfish and being arrogant and being whatever. Yeah. And so it's important for anybody listening to this. Like I said, I don't know all the answers. All I can tell you is the experiences that I've had in life versus the results I've gotten, changing my mindset to being an open. I don't remember who. I would love to give credit to who said this, but I heard it this last weekend. The mindset that you need to keep is be difficult, or be an open-minded person who's difficult to persuade. And that hit home to me. in that you want to give everyone a chance, because that was a problem of mine for a long time. I got burned as a youth because I was the nice guy that always did things for everybody. And eventually, if you do that long enough, bad people will take advantage of you. And if you take that to heart too much, it will stop you from doing those amazing things that makes the world a better place. And so we're letting the bad knock the good people down, and almost afraid to be good anymore because we don't want to get attacked by the bad people. But that's the opposite mentality that we all need to take. If we all took the other mentality, we could stamp out all the negativity with positivity. Because if you think about it, if you're around a negative person, how do you get them away from you? You just are so happy that they just can't take you. So same thing, if you're just so happy, how does someone take that away from you? They're just so grumpy that you just can't take it. And so it's those two extremes. If you can avoid the two extremes and keep yourself with people that hold you to the middle ground, that's where you find harmony and peace, and that's where you find yourself, frankly.
Yeah, no, I love what you're saying, man. And through all the coaching that I've been through, and I consume motivational, inspirational content, both faith-based and non. Like my wife will tell you, I get up at 4:30, 5 every morning, and I'm journaling, and I'm pouring into myself. But one of the things that I've heard over and over again, and this is what really attracted me to you in that interview, and even now as we're talking, is I've heard over and over again, the most coachable and most successful people on this planet are the most self-aware. And everything that you've been talking about is, listen, I got flaws. I'm not trying to give you this Instagram filter life here, right? This is who I am. And I love that, because I think so many people run from their flaws instead of repurposing them and reharnessing those flaws, right? Like learning how to take them, mold them, shape them, and harness them to use them to make a better version of yourself. And it definitely is. I can see that in you, and just a little bit that I know about you. And that's really what attracted me to talk to you at 8%. And I said, man, I got to interview this guy, because there's something there that, I really, really like. And so let me ask you this, because I think so many people have different definitions, and the definition of success is subjective. I get it's relative, but what does success mean to Joshua Youngs?
Man, it's changed. It used to be having $100,000 in the bank, and then that became easy. And that's not a brag thing, but I don't have it right now because I spent it all on coaching this year.
Right.
But I've done that. In January, I had more than $100,000 come my way from my AEP effort.
That's good.
Making more in a month than a lot of people would dream. I mean, people make $100,000 in a year. Like, yeah. And so the money part of it was a goal for a while. And so I think I've got the money part locked down. And if I keep doing what I'm doing, money's just fine. I'm not worried about money anymore. And so I had to switch gears to, now what am I going to be motivated by? Now I get motivated by my clients, the smile on their face when I'm done helping them. I get motivated with my new team and seeing them grow and get their first sale, or get their first, when the aha moment happens and they start to get things that click. So my motivators have switched to other people at this point. My kids, and I look at my both my clients and my broker team as generally my family. It's not lip service. I look them all in the eye and tell them I care about them, and I do. And so now it's about other people. How much can I give back? Not just to the industry, but to the world. My wife and I have a lot of philanthropic plans down the road and things like that. And so my motivators now are, how many people can I impact in a positive way, so when I leave this earth, there's more people out there doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because there's too many bad influences, in my opinion. There's too many temptations, and it's too easy. I've seen good people get sucked in by the bad life. I was as close as you could be, being sucked into it. It privileged. I feel privileged in some respects, because if anyone thinks there's not racial injustice in this world, I can tell you I saw. I mean, it didn't affect me personally, but there was a moment I was in court one time, going back on a violation of my probation because I got a second DUI. So I'm going back in front of the judge on my first DUI, talk about the second DUI I have, and try to explain that. And in that room, I was the only white person, and several people went before me, and several people went after me. And I don't remember their names, but I remember the sentences. It was like 12 years for the first guy. He got 12 years for violating his probation. Prison time. The next guy got 3 years. The next guy got 4 years. They got to me, And because I was white, I firmly believe that. And because I had my boss came in and spoke on my behalf, most other people didn't have that. I got 90 days. And then it went back to 10 years, 5 years. And so out of 15 people, I was the only one that didn't get years. And so in that moment, I looked at God and I said, thank you. I believe that was you that did that. And I promised that I would never take that for granted. And so I try to live my life now in a way, and I'm not perfect, so don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. But I try to do things now in a way that impacts people positively instead of negatively. I used to use my skills and my talents for selfish things, and during that, it caused harm to other people.
Yeah.
Where now I can use my skill sets to help people, and the effect I have is positive. If there's anything negative that happens, I want someone to tell me right away so I can fix it. And so I guess that's the biggest thing is my motivators have changed over time. With the blessings I've been given and what I thought I wanted wasn't really what I wanted. I mean, do I want to be successful in money and all that? Yes, I do, but not for the reasons I thought. It's not to buy the Ferrari. It's not to buy the mansion. It's not to do this. It's so that I have horsepower to help other people, to be an upline that's like no other, to be a father like no other, to be a friend, to be a community member, be part of the church, be all those things. But in a way that, again, my motivator is seeing you smile, seeing you succeed. That's my biggest motivator now.
Yeah, it's interesting how our definition of success evolves, matures, if you will, as we mature, right? And as we get coaching in our life and as we get around other successful people, it becomes from being me, myself, and I focused to others focused. And I don't know if you ever studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I'm a big nerd when it comes to stuff like that. And the greatest need that we have is this need called transcendence. And basically the layman's version, because that's how I have to put it for my simple mind, is that the greatest fulfillment that we'll ever experience in life is when we make a positive difference or impact in other people's lives. And that's what you're talking about, man. Yeah. And listen, I tell people I love the money too. I love getting big checks. I ain't gonna lie. I love going to the beach. You know, my family and I just went to Universal Studios for a week and fully paid because of the industry that you and I are in. But what brings me greater joy is I run the day-to-day operations here for the Medicare Gurus. And I have 4 or 5 agents that I'm over. And what brings me joy is some of these guys that are in our office were in my youth group when I was a youth pastor or served on staff with me when I had a church. And to be honest with you, they weren't making a lot of money. They were struggling. And it brings me great joy, more joy than going to Universal and the money when I hear, man, I went on vacation for a week with my family and I just wrote a check for it. Now I'm flying in my in-laws or my other family members. Now I'm buying dinners for my family. I couldn't do that before. And that brings me a greater sense of fulfillment that God gave me an opportunity to have this much impact, you know, in their life. And so, dude, you're speaking my language, man. You're spitting some serious fire this morning. And I'm so thankful that you're on the podcast with me. A couple of more things and then we'll close here. And I asked this question to everyone that comes on. If there was one word that you could use to describe yourself, what would that one word be?
I'm going to hyphenate it and make it a 2-word. It'd be,
come on, man.
Tenaciously passionate.
Tenaciously passionate. So part B to that question is, being that way, that tenacious, that passionate, how has that contributed to the overall success?
Man, I think it's the biggest difference I got. Anybody that comes in contact with me, even last night at the seminar, like, wow, do you love what you do or what? And so it helps people love and trust me easier in the business. And I feel that my tenacity and my passion overcome any objections they give me. You don't stop me with some dumb, I need to think about it. Yeah. I go right over that and I'm going on, nope, I'm helping you today against your will if necessary.
Once again, was that something that you were just born with? Is that something you've cultivated over time in your life?
I think I was probably born with the instinct to try it, but then my skill sets gave me the confidence to keep doing it and getting better. Just like anything, I mean, basketball, you start out dribbling with one hand, and then you try to work on 2 hands, and then you try to go behind your back. And once you're good at dribbling, then you can work on passing. And once you're good at passing, you start to put together a game. over time of fundamental skills that you package together to create a better basketball player or a better whatever. Same thing with this. I mean, when I first got in the field 3 years ago, I was not polished. I was very tenacious. I was very passionate, and I was a bottle rocket that I just went off on this tangent. But now I have the same momentum, but I also have control over where the ship goes. Yeah. And so where before I was just kind of hoping it went somewhere, now it's very calculated. Now it's very intentional on what I'm able to do. And so that the skill sets you build over life, it transcends. Same thing. If you're not good at talking to people now, all you got to do is practice. You got to be around the right people that give you the right support, that give you the right coaching and mentoring, and you become a good speaker. In school, I hated talking in public. I hated presenting in front of the class. Now, every chance you want me to be on your stage, sign me up. I love it. I feed into it. But where does that come from? Because I have the confidence to know when I'm on stage, there's not one question anybody in the audience could ask me that was going to throw me off. I'll know the answer. I know I know that part of it. And so that if you don't have that confidence, then you need to study the plan, study Medicare, study whatever until you have that confidence, because it's the confidence that carries you through. Because people are going to try to test that confidence. Yep. Clients test my confidence all the time. I have 5 clients on my books that answered the phone with "F you" the first time I talked to them. Wow. I said "F you," and the first 3 times that happened to me in my career, I had to really, I panic and you hang up, right? That's what most people do. But if you take that negative energy, you absorb it, and then you spit back nothing but positive energy to that person, trust me when I say you can convert them from "F you" to "I love you" faster than you can someone who's just, right. So if you have someone on one extreme or the other, if you didn't know this, it's really easy to be pulled to the other side. Yeah. So you can go out from one extreme to the other. If you know somebody like that, it's easy to do. What's hard is to stay in the middle and hold control. Kind of like if anyone's ever lifted weights, it's somewhat easier to do the bench press when you go up and down. But if you stop in the middle and try to hold it in one spot, it's exponentially more difficult. Same thing with life and balance and your personality and other stuff. And so I said it earlier, be hard on yourself. When it comes to making mistakes, be soft on yourself. Sure. Give yourself a chance. And then what that'll allow you to do, and it took me a long time to figure this out, it allows you to give other people a chance. Right. Because if you give yourself a chance, then why can't I give them a chance? Yeah.
So what was the biggest thing, or let's say principle mindset, that you took away for being a really good basketball player? What is something that you were, as a basketball player, that you learned, a mindset, a principle that you have implemented in your Medicare business?
If I outwork you in the practice gym, there's no way you can beat me in the game.
Bro, that's so good.
So if you're wondering how I write 1,000+ apps a year, it's just because I spent 14 years running an FMO, watching hundreds and hundreds of people do it wrong. Hundreds and hundreds of people try this, try that, and try this. And so it's not that I know what to do right. I know the 1,000 things that just will not work, no matter how much I try, no matter what spin I put on them. And so that was an advantage. So that's me in the practice field. And again, I got stuck in the practice field a lot longer than most people do. Most people are just thrown into the field. Good luck. Here's your agent guide, maybe a little bit of training. You have no idea about the products. You have no idea who you're supposed to talk to. You have no idea about trust building. You have no idea about reading people. Yeah. Maybe you have a few of those natural skills, but to have the complete package, I mean, that again, I got 14 years. And I always tell people, don't look at me as how to do it, because it's the longest way in the industry that I know of. Because if you want to spend 14 years learning, then you could launch with the ground running. But if you have to spend I would have rather spent the 14 years in the field learning the hard way, because trust me when I say I'd be doing 2,000 apps a year instead, because I would have had that time to learn in the field and develop my own presence and all that. So give yourself time, put yourself next to killers, or whatever word you want to use for it, top of the food chain, whatever industry. It doesn't have to be in our industry. If you hang out with the top banker, hang out with the top liquor store owner, hang out with the top whatever, so that you can get different concepts, because there's different business concepts I've gotten from other people in other industries that you can't directly drag over to Medicare, because Medicare doesn't work that way. It's a different animal. But you can take concepts and melt them in with your own to create a new way. And that's that's the biggest advice I have to anybody watching this. It's wanting to go from 100 apps to 200 apps in a year. You got to be innovative. If you just go and do everything that everyone else is doing, if you try to copy what I'm doing, trust me when I say I'm trying to innovate what I'm doing all the time, so that if you copy me, I'm still doing it better.
Right.
And so you got to keep that mentality that it's never enough, never be satisfied. And that comes with maybe within you got to build it, or it's natural, one or the other.
Yeah, and I love what you talked about, the practice. And of course, you can't help but thinking of Allen Iverson's, big inner practice, that kind of thing. But I'm the same way, man. I used to, when I was mentoring a lot of young preachers, I would still practice my sermon on Saturday nights in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. I'd get to church early on Sunday mornings at 7:15 and walk the stage, and I would practice and practice because I wanted to be a good communicator. I wanted to be the best. I didn't want to take it for granted. I wanted to respect my craft. And it sounds like you have that same type of mentality as well. So thank you for sharing that. So as we close today, Joshua, where can people find you, man? Because I think more people need to know about you.
Well, number one, if you're going to Medicare Con next year, I'm doing a breakout session, so you can find me there. You can find me I'm on Facebook. Just search my name, Joshua Youngs. You can find me on LinkedIn, same way. I have a YouTube channel that's in its infancy. So if you want to see me do bad videos for a while, that's a good place to find me. But in reality, you find me, if you see me on the street, you're going to see me dressed like this. So everywhere I go, it's going to be probably a different shirt, different hat, color, or whatever. But my car stands out. It's got the logos on it. But please reach out to me, because I'm not the reach out to you kind of guy. So if you want me to chat with you, you got to engage me. That's typically how it works. But yeah, no. And before I go, the Allen Iverson, that's a perfect example to me. Allen Iverson is the perfect example of someone that has all the talent but does not work hard. And did he compete at a high level? Yes. Could he breeze through? What I was describing, being able to beat everybody with half my effort. Allen Iverson could beat you with half his effort. But just imagine what would have happened if he worked on the Kobe level, if he worked on the Jordan level. Then he would have had the Kobe and the Jordan results. Because Kobe and Jordan would argue that Allen Iverson had more talent than they did, because he did. He was smaller and he was better.
Yeah.
But he did not have that tenacity to put in the work outside of the gym to be ready in practice, so that when you got into the game, you were tested. You were battle tested. Because if you think back to Allen Iverson's career, he lost in the playoffs when it's the hardest time. You can't replicate the playoffs in practice. The only way you can do that is to get to the playoffs.
Right.
And so, that was a perfect example. You couldn't have picked a better person. Allen Iverson is the epitome of hard work not being a part of the talent equation. And so he can overcome and he could beat. He was the top all-star and all that, but he never won a championship.
Yeah.
He never got to that next level. He did not make the people around him better.
Right.
He made the people around him worse because he was a ball hog. And so I've been there. I've done that. And let me tell you, that's not the way. The way to the top is when you get the whole team and you rising up. If the more time you spend rising up someone below you, the faster you'll rise. So that's my biggest piece of advice closing this thing. And thank you again for your time. I'd love to do this again sometime, for sure.
Yeah, man, I know that we only get a certain amount of time, but I definitely want to have you back on, because one of the things we didn't touch on, and I know we'll have you on again, is about the branding. I love that you're a branding fanatic. Obviously, I'm wearing the Medicare Guru's hat today as well. And so definitely want to have a part 2 and have you back on. I'll definitely be in that breakout session. Of course, our company hosts the Medicare Con, because it's Justin's, conference that he feels to give back to the industry. So I'll definitely see you there. But, thank you so much, man. You've been the one that's been so generous with your time, and you could have done so many other things. And I know this is probably going to be one of our most watched interviews because of just the amount of gold, the passion. Man, I love your heart. And I can just feel the energy through the screen that you really are a genuine, authentic guy. And so thank you. Thank you for coming on.
You said Medicare Minister. I don't know what's your first name?
My name is Rob.
Rob. Okay. So I'm going to call you, I'll call you the Medicare Minister in my mind, but I just want to know your real name.
A lot of people don't know my first name. So thank you for asking. It's just something that we put together. But listen, as we close today, friends, I just want to remind you again that you deserve to win, but you have to see it. He can't make you see it. I can't make you see it. We're just here to hopefully just give you a nugget or spit some fire today that would put some wind in your sails to go, you know what? I'm not going to quit on myself anymore. I'm going to be honest with myself, and I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to say, if it's going to be, it's going to have to be up to me. And I pray that today's interview has done that. As always, once again, quick reminder, like, subscribe, comment, share this with someone who you think needs to hear this today. God bless you guys. Make it an awesome day. And we'll talk to you guys soon.